afternoon. Welcome to Morning Vibes, weekly conversations to elevate how we live, think, and show up. Before we dive in, if you are getting value from these videos and these conversations, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. This month we've been talking about grief and loss, and specifically grieving mindfully to heal our pain and grow from it and transform our pain into purpose and mindful action. I want to remind everyone that we are hosting an online workshop in 2 weeks, Thursday, May 28th, from 6:30 to 8 p.m., with a replay of the workshop being sent out immediately after. It's $35, and this is a really powerful workshop. We'll be having discussions, we'll be doing practical exercises, and we really hope that you will join us for it. So, I believe that unresolved grief is one of the heaviest things that we carry through our life. And of course, grief comes when we lose people that we love, when that we love die, but it also comes from quieter losses that aren't always recognized. So things like the loss of a marriage, the loss of a job, the loss of our health, or the health as we know it, a dream that we thought would unfold differently, an empty nest, a childhood that we really desperately wish that we wanted, but we didn't get. And most of us aren't taught to grieve, right? We're instead taught to power on, push through, numb out, stuff down. And all that unprocessed grief weighs us down. It can create illness. It diminishes our capacity for joy and connection. Creativity takes away our personal power. But Michelle, when we reframe and look at grief not as something that we have to go through and muscle through, but that we grow through, it all flips, right?
Totally. I mean, grief and trauma don't always look the way we expect them to, and often they go unseen and unsupported. I mean, I remember when I was 32 and my dad had been diagnosed with a terminal illness. I was living across country. I had no support. I was still working a corporate job, so my life was very full with travel and responsibility. And I just realized I needed help. I needed support. And I took a similar class to one we're teaching. And it was based in a hospital from a minister. And it was a weekly, I think it was 10 weeks. It was like something I'd never experienced before. There were mindful exercises, and I always left feeling lighter, feeling more hopeful, and in a place where I could understand what I was experiencing. I think it's important to understand your emotions, your feelings, so that you can make a choice and you can move through it in a more graceful way versus feeling like you're in the shore where you're all being tumbled around and you don't know which way is up, because that's what grief can feel like when it's unsupported.
Yeah. I always feel like grief is, when you're swimming in the ocean and
Mhm.
those waves, excuse me, and you don't even know which way is up, or the agitation cycle of the washing machine.
Mhm.
Because when we have emotions, and we know that we have a lot of them that come from loss, if we don't fully feel them and process them, meaning we feel them and we get the wisdom that they have from us, they trap in our body. That's what causes that disease. It's what weighs us down. And they have to be released and understood. So I always feel like yoga and walking and journaling, watching a sad movie, even to get the emotions out, we have to give them an avenue. We have to feel them. And then we have to get the meaning from them. And it can be so overwhelming that when we have some structure to it, as you're talking about, like some exercises, when we put a structure to it, it actually helps us to get that grief out and to transform our pain to purpose and to utilize it what I think it was meant to do in this life, right? I mean,
Mhm.
loss and grief is a natural part of life, and we are here to grow and expand. So I think that it just helps us to have that support to turn those losses into something that has more meaning.
Yeah. I mean, have you ever noticed what you push away pushes back? And sometimes it even gets stronger. until it becomes or feels like it becomes bigger than you, where you can't choose, you don't know, you feel confused, you feel almost frozen. But when we embrace the transformation, it can strengthen us. And that's the reason why I like teaching what I've experienced, what I've learned, transforming grief to wisdom. So, like learning how to grieve mindfully, it assists you to process your emotions in a healthy way and that you can find acceptance and peace. Because I would say 100% of the time, if I ask my clients, how do you want to feel? They'll always say peace or free or light. It's always that same alignment of, but not just, I think, in your mind, but I also believe it's in your body, your mind, and your spirit. You want that alignment with the lightness, with that peace. And so you need tools, right? So, and it all takes practice. Like, I think the greatest path to where you can be is acknowledging where you are right now.
Yeah, I completely agree. Um, sorry, I don't know what's going on. So one of the things I was thinking about was the death of the dream, which often
Hmm.
accompanies a loss, but is often, again, one of those things that's often not recognized and I believe needs to be grieved. That pain runs so deep and it's so personal. When a spouse or a mate dies, it's not just present time that we're missing them, which is, of course, heavy in itself, but it's the vision that we had of the future together that now is no longer going to be. And it's the same thing with divorce. And divorce can be the absolute right and best thing. But none of us
Hmm.
get married with the intent to separate. So when we are actually making that commitment and getting married, there's usually a lot of dreams that have died along the way that need to be grieved in order to move through it and get that lightness. I know someone who recently lost their son, tragic accident. It was their only child, and he was just beginning his adult life. So not only did they have to grieve their son not being here in present time, but all the dreams that died with him, the dreams of grandchildren. I mean, all of that died along with him. And I believe that
Hmm.
when we grieve the death of a dream, now we can also call in things that will fulfill that. So in this particular case, of course, maybe they won't have grandchildren in that way, but if that's something that their heart wants, there's something else that they can call in to be that grandparent role or that parent role. It's within us, and I believe that when we go through grieving the death of the dream, we now open up to what we can bring in that will fulfill us.
Hmm. Yes, it's because when we suffer loss, a part of ourselves is lost. And so, therefore, navigating through grief in your everyday life can feel very challenging. And here's what I want you to know, it doesn't matter if it occurred last week, last year, or a decade ago. It's never too late to find new ways of being. I mean, when I was in that, so I went from a class to dealing with someone who's terminally ill right into proper grief because it was that fast for my father's transition. So there was someone in that class that had lost their grandmother like 5 years before, or it doesn't matter because that heaviness stays, right? We don't have the tools. It doesn't go anywhere. It blocks us from processing. And so triggers were triggered, right? It becomes a turning point when we're confronted with distress or uncomfortable situations or feeling that like our first response is to avoid it or push it down almost becomes a way of being. So again, I think if you're taking a class similar to the one we're teaching, grieving mindfully, it creates a safe, supportive space to honor all forms of grief whenever they happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll just tack on to that by saying that old saying, "Time heals all." It's not true.
Mhm.
It's not true.
No.
If you don't do anything with your grief, with your pain, time does not heal it. Us taking action and going through the process and growing through the grieving process, that is what heals.
Yeah. So the goal is always to embrace the pain, embrace the trauma, and hold it and resist nothing. That's mindfulness in action. So we talk about it, we feel it, we lean in, we accept it, we move towards radical acceptance through tools, through techniques, through different exercises in the class. So you can still experience the grief, the stress, the trauma, but you can also experience the joy, the transition, the wisdom, because you can hold everything. There's space for it all. But mindfulness can change us. It can teach us to stop running away from our emotions and feelings and accept yourself where you are, exactly as you are in this moment, without judgment, without fear. And when we feel it, like you said, we heal it. So it's not about avoiding, it's about changing our relationship with it.
100%.
Mhm. So, if you're interested, please like, subscribe, follow us, and we hope to see you in the workshop. Until next week, keep rising, keep practicing, and keep honoring exactly where you are.